Joe is many things: a stalker, a kidnapper, a murderer. But the Joe you see on Netflix isn't the full story. The book paints an even darker, more disturbing picture of him. By the end of this video, you'll see why Joe in the book makes the show's version look almost tame. In the Netflix adaptation, Joe is given some redeeming qualities, a bit of complexity to soften his monstrous acts. The book? No such mercy. He's consistently vile, unlikable, and harsh in ways the show barely hints at. There's none of the neighborly charm or soft spots that the screen version adds. Joe's true nature in the book versus Netflix show. In the Netflix adaptation, Joe is given some redeeming qualities, a bit of complexity to soften his monstrous acts. The book? No such mercy. He's consistently vile, unlikable, and harsh in ways the show barely hints at. There's none of the neighborly charm or soft spots that the screen version adds. But that's just the start. The book's Joe is far darker, a man without the moments of hesitation or empathy that Netflix tries to insert. He's more overtly violent, more selfish, and more remorseless, where the show tries to humanize in some way. The book dives headfirst into his darker impulses. He isn't just a killer in fiery moments of passion or protection. He's a predator, a stalker, and a man ruled by obsession. Even his interactions show less subtlety. There's a cold calculation to his actions that makes him less a conflicted anti-hero and more a terrifying villain. One of the starkest differences is how the book removes Joe's soft spots. The lovable neighbor arc is gone. He doesn't have that connection to the community. He's isolated, unrepentant, and unfiltered. Netflix gives Joe moments of vulnerability and innocence to balance out his terrors. But the book keeps the focus firmly on his darkest traits. This shift changes everything about how we view him. Instead of a complex man battling his demons, he's a clear representation of dangerous obsession. The book demands that readers confront a brutal reality. Joe is not to be sympathized with or pitied, but feared and loathed. This raw portrayal forces the audience to see the full horror beneath his charm. And it's this unflinching portrayal that makes Joe's character truly chilling in the book. The complexity Netflix adds might make him more watchable, but the book's honesty is far more unsettling. Relationships and violence. A rawer Joe. Book Joe is far more aggressive day to day. He throws punches, breaks things, and kills not out of protection, but pure frustration and selfishness. Unlike the show, he murders Benji over jealousy, not justice. His casual brutality strips away any justifications Netflix might have given. He doesn't pause to weigh morality. His actions are raw, impulsive, and chillingly cold. Joe's violence in the book feels less calculated and more like an eruption of his darkest impulses, making him terrifyingly unpredictable. This relentless aggression extends beyond physical acts. His mindset is dominated by possessiveness and entitlement, where anyone standing between him and his desires becomes a target. Even ordinary frustrations ignite violent outbursts, like when he throws a typewriter through a wall, leaving a literal hole as a testament to his rage. And when it comes to killing, Joe doesn't justify it as protecting Beck, as he sometimes hints in the show. Instead, the murders are spiteful acts of control or punishment, driven by wounded pride and jealousy, revealing a far more selfish and violent nature. This Joe hates with a bitter intensity, fueled not by twisted love but by raw, simmering anger. His violent tendencies anchor the story's darker tone, erasing any semblance of charm or complexity Netflix tries to build into his character. You realize quickly that Book Joe is not a romantic anti-hero, but a deeply flawed and dangerous man whose relationships are marked by manipulation and brutality. And this makes every interaction with Beck and others eerily suspenseful, as you never know when his fury will explode next. Beck's role and personality differences. The Beck in the book is far less enamored with Joe. She's not smitten or hopeful. She's largely indifferent and even hostile. using Joe for validation rather than love. Their relationship isn't about romance, but control and manipulation, starkly contrasting the show's more romanticized portrayal. It's chilling in its coldness. Beck doesn't fit the sweet, ambitious writer trope that the show hints at. She's portrayed as entitled, promiscuous, and deeply flawed, a satirical view of a millennial woman. While the Netflix Beck flirts with a hint of genuine interest in Joe, book Beck's flirting is more casual, implied to be a pattern with many men. The text messages reveal a lot. The show's Beck hopes for something real, saying, "What if it's finally time for me to date someone good for me?" Book Beck is brutally honest with her friends, saying, "Too bad he's not my type. I don't like nice guys." This reveals a clear lack of desire or affection toward Joe. Even when Beck reaches out to Joe for help, she treats him as a worker slave rather than a partner. Joe recognizes this and isn't fooled by her pretenses. He sees he's low on her priority list, 97th choice to be exact. The book exposes a darker truth of Beck's character. She's not looking for love but validation and ego boosts from obsessive attention. Despite her flaws, Beck is shown as a young woman struggling with self-esteem issues, using her sexual allure to fill a psychological void. Unlike the show, Beck's talent as a writer is questioned by others around her. Teachers, friends, and family find her work mediocre, boring, and confusing. She never gets published and eventually admits she doesn't really like writing, planning to give it up to pursue acting in LA. However, Joe cuts that life short before she can make any changes. This Beck is far more complex and damaged, not simply a romantic interest, but a reflection of toxic millennial struggles and desperation, psychological depth, and dark character dynamics. Joe's hatred of the wealthy in the book stems from envy rather than moral superiority. He's petty, jealous, and bitter, making his character's motivations more twisted. Meanwhile, Beck's toxic behavior spirals into outright sociopathy. She thrives on attention and manipulates those around her in chilling ways. These characters come alive in a dark, unsettling dance. Joe's disdain is fueled by deep personal insecurities, his jealousy turning into grotesque actions, exposing the raw, violent underbelly of his psyche. Beck, on the other hand, uses her appearance and charm as weapons, drawing people in only to exploit them emotionally and psychologically. Their interactions are loaded with manipulation and power plays, creating a psychological battlefield where love and obsession are indistinguishable. The book paints Beck not just as a victim, but a flawed individual with dangerous tendencies, elevating the tension and discomfort. Joe's dark fantasies of control come through in lines like, "Watching you is better than touching you. I own you now, Beck. You don't know it, but I do," highlighting his possessiveness masked as affection. The unsettling quote, "I want to punish you for making me want you so bad," perfectly captures the violent undertones that permeate their twisted connection. This deep dive into the psychological games played between Joe and Beck reveals a toxic symbiosis, a destructive dance of obsession and control that the Netflix show only hinted at. Their complex, dark dynamics are what make the book's portrayal so compelling and disturbingly real. Stalking and predation amplified. In the book, Joe's stalking of Beck stretches over weeks, even months, with a chilling patience and disturbing dedication that the show barely touches on. Unlike the Netflix adaptation where their interaction seems almost instantaneous, here Joe lurks around without direct contact, buying costumes, planning, and carefully observing every detail of Beck's life. This slow, meticulous buildup intensifies the sense of danger, making his obsession feel far more real and threatening. His stalking isn't just about infatuation. It's an exercise in control and domination. His fantasies, as revealed through the narration, are hauntingly dark, far removed from the romanticized ideas the show sometimes flirts with. Instead of imagining love and partnership, book Joe fantasizes about training and owning Beck, reducing her to a puppet in his twisted world. His words like, "Watching you is better than touching you. I own you now, Beck. You don't know it, but I do," send a cold shiver down your spine, showing how deeply possessive and predatory he really is. This portrayal strips away any sympathy and exposes the raw, violent core of his obsession. It's a disturbing dive into toxic fixation that the show only hints at, making the book's Joe not just a stalker, but a master of psychological terror. And the stalking leads to more than just watching. It's about breaking down Beck's autonomy piece by piece, manipulating and cornering her until she becomes trapped in his nightmare. This amplified predation reveals how far obsession can spiral when unchecked, and it throws a harsh spotlight on the dangers that lurk beneath seemingly innocent facades. The tragic and toxic triangles. The entangled desires between Joe, Beck, and Benji in the book create a toxic web of longing and rejection that hits raw nerves. Each character is deeply flawed, craving love from someone who doesn't want them, making it a much bleaker and brutal portrayal than the show's twisted love story. This triangle cuts deeper than you might expect. Benji's infatuation with Beck and Beck's indifferent flirtations while chasing validation elsewhere, set against Joe's obsessive and violent need to control, form a destructive spiral. The emotional distance and misunderstanding between them breed resentment and tragedy that feels painfully real. Unlike the show, the book strips away any romantic veneer to reveal a grim reality of toxic attachments and unfulfilled desires. It's not just a story of love and hate, but a dark exploration of how people can be trapped by their own obsessions and insecurities in relationships that destroy rather than heal. This tragic triangle shows how addiction to attention and need for control turn affection into a battlefield. Each interaction is charged with manipulation, jealousy, and brutal honesty that leaves no room for innocence or hope. Ultimately, the triangle is a maddening loop of pain, where every character suffers, yet no one can break free. Supporting characters with a darker edge. Other characters, especially Beck's counterpart, are not just flawed but deeply malevolent in the book, far more extreme than their TV versions. Their actions and motivations dive into psychological horror and sociopathic tendencies, underscoring the novel's darker tone. This added depth makes the story even more gripping. For instance, Peach's character is shown to manipulate and exploit others, thriving on attention, while also displaying a shocking lack of empathy. Her behavior crosses lines in ways the show only hints at, revealing a chilling side to her personality. Similarly, the affair with the therapist is explored in more disturbing detail. Beck is portrayed as the instigator, aggressively pursuing the therapist and using the relationship as a power play. This dynamic exposes the toxic layers lurking beneath the surface of seemingly normal interactions. Even more disturbing is how Beck's obsession and attention-seeking behaviors escalate, including some unsettling exhibitionist tendencies described through Joe's perspective. These glimpses into the supporting cast highlight the pervasive darkness in the book's world, where toxicity and manipulation are the norm rather than the exception. The characters are not just background players, they are integral to the unnerving atmosphere, pushing the story into psychological thriller territory. This contrasts sharply with the Netflix adaptation, where many supporting characters are softened or omitted. In the book, their raw, unfiltered traits serve to amplify the main themes of obsession, delusion, and control. Overall, the supporting cast's darker edges add layers of complexity and dread, making the narrative richer and far more unsettling than its screen counterpart. It's a brutal look at how these flawed individuals influence each other, creating a toxic ecosystem that's hard to escape. Final thoughts on the book's impact and takeaway. Reading the book reveals a relentlessly grim landscape where redemption is scarce, and characters spiral darker than imagined. Yet, it offers a sobering look at toxic relationships, delusions, and destructive desires, that the Netflix show only hints at. It's not an easy read, but it's hauntingly compelling. The stark reality lingers long after you close the book, making it difficult to forget the depths of obsession and madness explored within its pages. While the show dramatizes and sometimes romanticizes the story, the book strips away any veneer of charm, exposing the raw, unsettling truths about these characters and their twisted lives. It forces readers to confront uncomfortable questions about love, control, and the darkness that can hide behind seemingly ordinary people. Though bleak, the narrative also serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of how dangerous obsession can become when left unchecked. This portrayal is not just about entertainment. It's a psychological exploration into human flaws and frailties. It challenges us to look deeper, to understand the warning signs, and to recognize the impact of toxic dynamics. In the end, while the book might not offer comfort, it provides a gripping, insightful journey that resonates on a deeply emotional level. For those willing to endure its disturbing content, it reveals a powerful and lasting commentary on the nature of obsession, power, and the devastating consequences of unchecked delusion. Joe in the book is a terrifying reflection of obsessive darkness, stripped of Netflix's gloss. Beck and the supporting cast deepen the portrayal of toxic dysfunction. If you thought the show was intense, the book takes it several notches higher, forcing us to face how deep obsession and delusion can run. Would you dare to dive in? Reading the book reveals a relentlessly grim landscape where redemption is scarce and characters spiral darker than imagined. Yet, it offers a sobering look at toxic relationships, delusions, and destructive desires that the Netflix show only hints at. It's not an easy read, but it's hauntingly compelling. The stark reality lingers long after you close the book. Ultimately, this story challenges us to understand the darkest sides of human nature and the dangerous illusions of love and control. It's not just a tale of obsession. It's a mirror reflecting fears and truths about the people we think we know and those we don't. So, whether you come for the suspense or the psychological depth, the book's raw intensity leaves a mark. It's a cautionary tale, a deep dive into madness, and a powerful reminder. Sometimes, the most chilling stories are the ones that feel all too real.